Episode 2. Learn to say no with wisdom and respect. Aum Namapegavaith Vasudevya. Imagine this. One of the world's most respected CEOs walks into his office on a Monday morning. His calendar is completely empty. Within minutes, requests begin arriving. Can you attend this meeting? Can you review this proposal? Can you join this committee? Can you mentor this employee? Can you approve this project? Can you speak at this event? One by one. He politely declines most of them. Not because he doesn't care. Not because he isn't capable. Not because he isn't kind. He declines because he understands one of the greatest leadership principles ever discovered. Every time you say yes to something, you are silently saying no to something else. If you say yes to unnecessary meetings, you're saying no to strategic thinking. If you say yes to everyone else's priorities, you're saying no to your own purpose. If you want to become someone who leads with clarity, earns genuine respect, and protects what matters most, stay with me until the very end. Because today's principle has the power to save you years of stress, burnout, and regret while helping you become a wiser leader, a better family member, and a stronger human being. Most people think saying no closes doors. The truth is, the right no opens the right doors. Imagine a beautiful garden. Every day seeds are scattered into it. Some grow into flowers. Some become weeds. Now imagine the gardener saying, "I'll allow everything to grow." What happens? Eventually, the weeds consume the flowers. Life works exactly the same way. Your time, your attention, your energy are the garden. Every unnecessary commitment is another weed. Every unnecessary obligation quietly steals nourishment from your real priorities. The Bhagavad Gita teaches a profound truth. It is better to perform your own duty imperfectly than to perform another's duty perfectly. Think about that. How many people spend their entire lives living according to someone else's expectations, trying to impress others, trying to avoid disappointing others, trying to please everyone, until one day, they wake up and realize they have forgotten themselves. Leadership begins the day you stop asking, "How do I make everyone happy?" and begin asking, "What is the right thing to do?" Peter Drucker wisely said, "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said." Likewise, one of the most important decisions in leadership is protecting what cannot be replaced. Time, focus, character, peace of mind. These are your greatest assets. Treat them accordingly. Let me tell you a story. A young manager desperately wanted everyone in his company to like him. Whenever someone asked for help, he agreed. Whenever someone requested overtime, he accepted. Whenever another department needed support, he volunteered. For a while, people praised him. "You are amazing. You never say no. You are always available." But 6 months later, he was exhausted. Important projects were delayed. His family barely saw him. His health deteriorated. His own team suffered because he had no time left for them. One evening, his mentor quietly asked him, "Tell me, who benefits when the leader is completely exhausted?" The young manager remained silent. The mentor smiled gently. "A burned-out candle cannot light another candle." Those words transformed his leadership forever. He didn't become rude. He didn't become selfish. He simply became intentional. If today's message is already speaking to you, pause for a moment and write one word in the comments. Boundaries. Because boundaries are not walls. They are doors with wise gatekeepers. Now here's something most people never realize. The inability to say, "No, usually has very little to do with kindness. It has everything to do with fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of conflict. Fear of losing opportunities. Fear of disappointing someone. Fear of being misunderstood. Psychologists call this people-pleasing. It feels generous. But underneath, it often hides insecurity. Imagine an airplane. Before every flight, passengers hear the same instruction. If cabin pressure drops, put your own oxygen mask on first. Then help others. Why? Because if you cannot breathe, you cannot save anyone else. The same principle applies to life. Protecting your health, protecting your peace, protecting your priorities is not selfish. It is responsible. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You cannot control whether someone feels disappointed. You can control whether your decision was wise. Never confuse another person's disappointment with your wrongdoing. Sometimes people become upset, not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped allowing them to benefit from your lack of boundaries." There is another lesson every successful organization understands. Every company has limited resources, limited people, limited budgets, limited time. The greatest leaders don't approve every project. They choose the right projects. Strategy is not deciding what to do. Strategy is deciding what not to do. Life is no different. Your calendar reveals your priorities, not your intentions. Warren Buffett once said, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything." Notice, he didn't say no because he lacked opportunities. He said no because he understood the extraordinary power of focus. Focus is not saying yes to one thing. Focus is saying no to 100 distractions. Chanakya advised rulers that wisdom lies not only in choosing the right path, but also in avoiding the wrong one. Every unnecessary commitment carries an invisible cost. Every unnecessary obligation quietly borrows from tomorrow's energy. And here's where everything changes. Not every no needs to sound harsh. Sometimes the wisest response is, "I appreciate your trust, but I'm unable to commit at this time." Or, "I would rather decline than promise something I cannot deliver with excellence." That isn't disrespect. That is integrity. Because every promise you make becomes someone else's expectation. Choose your promises carefully. Imagine a river flowing through a valley. The river never tries to flow in every direction. It follows its course. Because of that, it reaches the ocean. Now imagine the river trying to fill every lake, every pond, every ditch, every field. Before continuing its journey, would it ever reach its destination? Probably not. Many people live exactly like that river. They divide their attention into 100 directions. They try to satisfy everyone, help everyone, attend everything, approve everything, respond to everything. Until one day, they discover they have forgotten the very purpose for which they began the journey. One of the greatest leadership principles is this: you cannot prioritize everything. The moment everything becomes important, nothing remains important. Stephen Covey wisely said, "The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing." Simple words, extraordinary wisdom. Every successful organization has priorities. Every successful family has priorities. Every successful individual has priorities. Ask yourself, what are yours? Is your health a priority? Then why do you keep saying yes to habits that destroy it? Is your family a priority? Then why do you keep saying yes to commitments that steal every evening? Is your spiritual growth a priority? Then why does your phone receive more attention than your prayers? Your calendar tells the truth, even when your words do not. There is another kind of no that requires tremendous courage. Saying no to yourself. No, I will not postpone exercising today. No, I will not waste another hour scrolling without purpose. No, I will not respond in anger. No, I will not compromise my integrity for temporary gain. The hardest person to say no to is often ourselves. The Bhagavad Gita teaches mastery over the senses, not suppression. Mastery, because the person who cannot say no to temptation will eventually lose the ability to say yes to greatness. Imagine an archer preparing for an important competition. Friends invite him to a late-night party. He politely declines. Some laugh at him. Some call him boring. Weeks later, he stands on the podium holding the gold medal. People admire his success. Few remember the quiet no that made the victory possible. Every extraordinary yes in life is built upon hundreds of invisible no's. No to distraction. No to laziness. No to excuses. No to mediocrity. History quietly rewards disciplined choices. Nelson Mandela once said, "May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears." Read that again. Many of our yes decisions come from fear. Fear of being left out. Fear of criticism. Fear of rejection. But wise decisions come from purpose. Purpose gives courage. Fear takes it away. There is another beautiful lesson from nature. Have you ever watched an eagle fly? When storms approach, most birds search for shelter. The eagle does something remarkable. It rises above the storm. How? By refusing to fight every wind. Instead, it chooses the currents that lift it higher. Life asks us to do the same. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every invitation deserves your attendance. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every battle deserves your energy. One of the greatest forms of maturity is selective attention. Choose carefully where your energy goes. Because where your energy goes, your life follows. If this lesson has reminded you of one area where you need stronger boundaries, write one word in the comments. Courage. Because sometimes courage is not charging into battle. Sometimes courage is politely saying no and walking away with peace. Let me share another story. A respected architect was approached to design one more massive project. The money was extraordinary. The recognition would be global. Everyone expected him to accept. Instead, he declined. A journalist later asked him, "Why would you refuse such an opportunity?" The architect smiled. "I already have enough projects. If I accept one more, every client will receive less than my best. I'd rather disappoint one potential customer than disappoint every existing one." That is excellence. That is professionalism. That is character. In today's boardrooms, the strongest leaders don't measure success by how much they accept. They measure success by how well they execute the commitments they choose. Execution creates trust. Overcommitment destroys it. People rarely lose confidence in leaders who respectfully decline. They lose confidence in leaders who constantly promise and repeatedly fail to deliver. Remember, a respectful no today is far better than a broken promise tomorrow. There is another question worth asking before every commitment. Does this align with my values? Does this move me closer to my purpose? Will this matter 5 years from now? If the answer is no, perhaps your answer should also be no. Before you begin tomorrow, ask yourself one simple question. What deserves my wholehearted yes? And what deserves my respectful no? That one question, repeated every day, will quietly transform your life. If today's episode helped you understand that saying no is not rejection, but wise stewardship of your time, energy, and purpose, subscribe and continue this journey with us. Every episode is designed to help us think more clearly, lead more wisely, and live more intentionally. Share this episode with someone who constantly carries the burden of pleasing everyone. One conversation may give them the freedom they've been searching for. Remember, every yes shapes your future. Every no protects it. Say yes to purpose. Say yes to integrity. Say yes to excellence. Say yes to your family. Say yes to your health. Say yes to your relationship with the divine. And respectfully, courageously, compassionately, say no to everything that pulls you away from becoming the person you were created to be. Because wisdom is not measured by how much you do. It is measured by how well you choose. May we replace fear with courage. Replace people-pleasing with wisdom. Replace exhaustion with balance. Replace distraction with purpose. May we become better individuals, build stronger families, create a better society, and leave behind a better world for future generations. Aum Namah Bhagavath Vasudevaya.